This is Meet Sean, where we break down real life topics insurance, annuities, real estate, travel planning, and home ownership so you can make smarter moves. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
So picture this. You're sitting at this heavy mahogany table in a title office, right?
Oh, yeah, the classic closing table.
Exactly. And the heavy gold-plated pen is literally right there in your hand. Outside, you've got a moving truck idling. It's costing you like $100 an hour.
Minimum, yeah.
Right. And it's packed with every single worldly possession you own. You are seconds away from signing that final document to take ownership of your new property.
It's a huge moment.
It is. But before the ink can even dry, the escrow officer gets a ping on their computer. The lender has pulled the plug.
Oh, wow.
The funds are totally frozen. The seller is walking away. And suddenly, the keys aren't yours.
That's a nightmare scenario.
It's terrifying. And, we often treat closing day as this purely ceremonial victory lap. But the source material we're looking at for today's deep dive reveals a completely different reality.
Yeah, the data is pretty shocking.
It really is.
Yeah.
Nearly 30% of real estate transactions encounter unexpected, severe issues on, or like immediately leading up to, closing day. Almost 1 in 3 deals hits a brick wall at the absolute final moment.
Which completely shatters that mainstream illusion of how real estate transactions actually finalize.
Right.
I mean, we are so conditioned by home improvement shows and pop culture to view closing as the celebratory end credits scene of a movie.
Cue the champagne, right?
Exactly. When functionally, it is the most fragile, high-risk bottleneck of the entire property acquisition process.
And that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring a highly comprehensive construction and real estate due diligence guide.
It's a fantastic resource.
It really is. Our goal is to dissect the underlying mechanics of why these deals collapse and basically arm you with the precise knowledge to prevent your property purchase from falling apart right before the finish line.
Because it's not just a basic checklist.
No, not at all. We are moving past the basic checklist.
Right.
And looking into the structural vulnerabilities of a transaction, the algorithmic financial traps, the invisible legal encumbrances, and those high-leverage physical inspections that really dictate whether you get the keys or, get taken to court.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because going from the thrill of an accepted offer to the cold, hard reality of closing, well, it requires a pretty massive cognitive shift.
It requires a shift from emotional projection to really calculated critical auditing. Like if you were to look at the digital backdrop behind me right now, it's visualizing that exact transition. Shifting from a chaotic, dusty construction site with, exposed steel framing, settling into a highly engineered, quiet, immaculate living space.
Which is a beautiful transition, but it takes work.
Exactly. That finalized state doesn't just happen by accident. It is engineered through strict proactive due diligence.
Right.
Because buying a property is an inherently emotional milestone for you, the buyer, but the institutions financing and transferring that property, they're entirely unfeeling.
They do not care about your feelings.
Not even a little bit. We have to move you out of the daydream phase and into the mindset of like a forensic accountant.
Which is just incredibly difficult, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're already mentally placing your furniture in the new living room.
Oh, absolutely.
But before we even step foot on the physical property to check the drywall, we really have to audit the buyer's balance sheet.
This is where so many people trip up.
They really do. From the data in these sources, a surprising number of buyers actively, albeit accidentally, sabotage their own underwriting approval when the finish line is mere days away.
It's painful to watch.
So let's talk about the mechanics of that self-sabotage. How does that even happen?
Well, the root of the problem is a misunderstanding of how mortgage pre-approval actually functions.
Okay, explain that.
Right. So a buyer assumes that once the bank issues the clear to close or the initial approval, the money is just like locked in a vault with their name on it.
Like it's a done deal.
Yeah, exactly. But in reality, modern underwriting is dynamic. Your lender has approved you based on a highly specific algorithmic snapshot of your financial health, specifically your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI, and your liquid reserves. If you alter the variables in that equation during the closing window, the algorithm just recalculates.
And a lot of buyers alter those variables because they're prepping for the new house.
All the time.
They see an empty driveway and they go, oh, let's finance a new SUV. Or they take out a line of credit to buy new appliances.
Yep. Worst thing you can do.
I want to look at this through an analogy because I feel like the old advice of just don't buy anything doesn't really capture the sensitivity of the system.
No, it doesn't.
So let's view your mortgage underwriting as a precisely balanced scale. The lender has weighed your risk profile to the exact gram. You are balanced perfectly against their threshold for risk.
Okay, I like this.
Right. It's like running a marathon and deciding to eat a heavy meal 10 feet before the finish line.
Oh, yeah.
If you walk into a furniture store and authorize a credit check to finance a couch, you might think you are just adding a tiny feather to your side of the scale. It's just $50 a month, right?
But that single feather shatters the fragile equilibrium.
Yes. You're actually tripping yourself right at the end.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that feather represents a fundamental shift in your risk profile at your absolute most vulnerable moment.
Right.
Let's leave the mechanism of that DTI recalculation. Suppose a lender's absolute hard stop threshold for your loan product is a 43% debt-to-income ratio.
Okay, 43%.
And your current snapshot sits at 42.8%. You are approved.
Barely, but approved.
Exactly. Then you authorize that hard credit inquiry for the furniture store. Not only does your credit score take a minor localized hit, but that new $50 monthly obligation is instantly ingested by the lender's continuous monitoring software.
And your DTI ticks up to 43.1%.
Precisely. You have just crossed the algorithmic threshold. The underwriter isn't looking at context. They aren't reasoning that it's just a couch.
The computer doesn't care about the couch.
Right. The software simply flags you as ineligible and the funding is pulled.
Wow. You essentially tell the bank right before closing, hey, I am statistically more likely to default today than I was yesterday.
That is exactly how they see it.
So the mandate is absolute financial stasis. No new credit, no large cash movements, no career changes. You just freeze yourself in amber.
Freeze in amber, yes.
But managing your own behavior is only half the financial battle, isn't it? The due diligence guide also focuses heavily on the actual logistical movement of the closing funds.
Oh, wire transfers. This is huge.
Yeah, let's talk about verifying wire instructions, because I feel like most people view this as a simple, clerical task to avoid a weekend delay.
Viewing it as a clerical task is incredibly dangerous. Oh, yeah. The guide mandates confirming wire instructions directly with your financial institution and the title company via a known trusted phone number.
Okay.
The reason for this isn't just to prevent a typo that delays closing by a day. The real threat is business email compromise, or BEC. Real estate transactions are prime targets for wire fraud syndicates.
Because it's a massive centralized transfer of liquid cash. It's a huge target.
Exactly. Hackers will compromise the email server of a real estate agent or a title escrow officer. They just sit silently in the system, monitoring the emails for weeks.
Just watching, that is so creepy.
They're learning the cadence of your specific transaction. Then on the morning you're supposed to wire your, say, $200,000 down payment, the hacker sends you an email from the title officer's actual legitimate email address.
Oh, man.
And it contains a perfectly formatted PDF with updated wiring instructions.
But the routing number goes to an offshore account.
Yep. And once that wire is sent, the money is gone forever.
Oh, my God.
The closing fails, and your life savings are decimated. This is why the sources are adamant. You never trust wiring instructions sent via email.
You have to call.
You pick up the phone, you call the title company using a number you independently verified, and you read the routing numbers back to them aloud.
That is a staggering level of baseline risk that buyers are just expected to navigate.
It really is.
And speaking of navigating risk, there is also the 3-day rule regarding the closing disclosure. Why 3 days specifically?
Right. So this ties back to federal regulations implemented after the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh, the housing crash.
Exactly. Specifically, the TILA-RESPA Integrated Disclosure Rules, often called TIID. Before these rules, buyers would often show up at the closing table and find that their interest rate had suddenly ticked up.
Or their surprise fees.
Yeah, thousands of dollars in junk fees had just been added overnight. The pressure to sign was immense.
Because the moving truck is outside.
Exactly. So the 3-day rule is a legally mandated cooling off period. The lender must provide the exact, finalized closing disclosure 3 full business days before you sign.
Which gives the buyer the runway to actually audit the math without the moving truck idling outside.
Exactly.
You verify the interest rate, you check the prorated property taxes, and if the math is wrong, the 3-day clock often has to restart.
You have time to fix it.
Okay, so we have established a rigid defense for the buyer's financial health. Freeze the credit profile, bypass email to verify wire routing against fraud, and weaponize the 3-day disclosure rule.
That's pillar one.
Right. So let's transition to the property itself. Because you can have an immaculate personal balance sheet, but if the property's financial history is toxic, you are stepping on a landmine.
A huge landmine.
We are moving from the buyer's wallet to the property's hidden ledger.
And this is where we get into title searches and title insurance. When you acquire real estate, you are not just buying the physical structure and the land. You are legally inheriting the total financial and legal history of that parcel.
Wait, really?
Yes. If that history contains unresolved claims, those claims attach to the dirt, not to the previous owner.
Wow. The sources indicate we should initiate a comprehensive title search the absolute moment the purchase agreement is executed.
Immediately, yes.
We are looking for encumbrances, unpaid property taxes, or mechanics liens. Actually, a quick refresher for context here. A mechanics lien happens when a contractor works on the house. Say the previous owner remodeled the primary bathroom and the owner never paid the final bill.
Right.
The contractor files a lien, meaning they literally hold a legal claim to a portion of the property's value.
And if you don't discover that lien before closing, the seller takes your purchase money and disappears,
Leaving you holding the bag.
leaving you as the new owner legally liable for their unpaid bathroom remodel.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. I want to push back on this burden of discovery.
Oh, go for it.
If I am buying a house and securing a mortgage, there is a multi-billion-dollar financial institution lending me the money. They have entire floors of attorneys assessing risk. Shouldn't the bank's involvement automatically guarantee that the property is free and clear?
You would think so.
Right. Why isn't the seller's signature on a legal contract, combined with the bank's massive oversight, enough to guarantee my safety as the buyer?
Well, this raises an important question, and it is a fundamental misunderstanding of who the bank is protecting.
Okay.
The bank absolutely cares about the title being clear, which is why they mandate a title search. But their priority is protecting their collateral position, not your equity. This is the difference between a lender's title policy and an owner's title policy. The lender will force you to buy a policy that ensures they are first in line to get paid if the property is foreclosed upon due to a past defect.
Oh, I see.
But if a defect wipes out your down payment and your equity, the lender's policy does not help you at all. You must secure an owner's title policy to defend your specific financial interest.
Wow. That distinction is crucial. The bank is building a moat around their money, not yours.
Exactly. You have to build your own moat.
But let's look at the concept of title insurance itself, because it functions differently than literally any other insurance product we buy.
It is entirely unique. Think about your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, or, your health insurance.
Sure.
You pay a recurring monthly or annual premium to protect yourself against a theoretical future event. A fire, a car crash, an illness.
Right.
Title insurance operates in reverse. You pay a single one-time premium at closing to protect yourself against events that have already happened in the past but remain undiscovered.
It's essentially a time machine.
Basically, yeah.
You are insuring against the ghosts of the property's past.
I love that phrasing.
Right. And the title search is the forensic audit, looking through public records for those old liens or easements. But the search is only as good as the public record.
Right. Mistakes happen.
What if someone forged a deed transfer in, 1998? What if an undisclosed heir to an estate from 3 owners ago suddenly realizes they never legally relinquished their claim to the land?
It happens more than you'd think.
And the title search might miss that because it wasn't filed correctly.
And that is when the ghosts materialize. If that heir files a lawsuit claiming ownership of your backyard, your title insurance steps in.
Okay.
They provide the legal defense and cover the financial damages up to the value of the policy. Without it, you are paying out of pocket to defend a claim against a past you had absolutely no part in creating.
That is terrifying.
The due diligence guide is uncompromising on this. Verifying the title and securing the insurance is the ultimate shield. You force the seller to use their proceeds at closing to pay off any discovered debts, clearing the ledger before the title transfers to your name.
So we've frozen the algorithmic variables in our credit. We've routed the money securely to dodge wire fraud. The title has been scrubbed clean. The old debts are satisfied. And we have our retroactive insurance policy in hand.
The paper reality is flawless.
The paper reality of the transaction is flawless. Exactly. Now, we finally arrive at the physical reality. Does the actual physical house match the contract we signed 30 days ago?
This brings us to the final walkthrough, which typically occurs 24 to 48 hours before closing.
The final step.
And we need to completely reframe how buyers view this event. It is not an opportunity to measure the windows for custom blinds or figure out where the television goes.
No decorating.
None. It is a rigorous adversarial inspection designed to hold the seller accountable to the exact terms of the purchase agreement.
The guide tells us to inspect every corner like a professional. Functionally, we're auditing two distinct categories here, right?
Yes.
The first is verifying negotiated repairs. If, after the initial home inspection, the seller agreed in writing to replace a degraded electrical panel or mitigate a radon issue, this is the moment of verification.
And honestly, relying on the seller's word or like a blurry photo of a receipt isn't enough. You often need to bring your inspector back out to verify the work was permitted and completed to code.
Because once you sign the closing documents, the seller's obligation evaporates.
Poof. Gone.
The second category you are auditing during the walkthrough is the emergence of new damage or unauthorized changes to the property condition.
Because a house is a dynamic system.
It is. A lot can happen in the 30 days between your initial viewing and the closing date. You need to run every faucet, flush every toilet, check the HVAC system.
You are looking for new plumbing leaks that may have sprung.
Yeah.
You are inspecting the drywall to ensure the seller's moving company didn't just smash a heavy dresser through the hallway corner.
Which happens all the time. Or we look at the fixtures. The contract specifies what stays and what goes. Real estate fixtures, things permanently attached to the house, are legally supposed to remain.
Right.
But we see endless examples of buyers walking into an empty house to find the extensive smart thermostat replaced with, like, a $10 plastic dial.
Yeah.
Or the custom dining room chandelier swapped out for a bare bulb.
It is shockingly common.
Why did they do that?
Well, sellers often feel a sentimental attachment, or they simply want to extract every ounce of value, so they strip the house of high-end appliances or fixtures that were legally bound to the sale. You have to arrive at the final walkthrough with your original contract and the listing photos, and you document every single discrepancy.
So what does this all mean? I want to explore the psychology of this exact moment because it is incredibly fraught.
It's so stressful.
Think about it. It is the morning of closing. Your apartment lease expired yesterday. The moving truck is literally sitting in the driveway. Your entire life is packed in cardboard boxes.
You just want it to be over.
Exactly. You walk through the front door for the final inspection, and you discover the seller took the washer and dryer they were supposed to leave, and there is a fresh, active water stain on the ceiling below the primary bathroom.
Oh, it's the worst.
The emotional pressure to just capitulate is astronomical. You think, I'll buy a new washer, I'll hire a plumber, I just need the keys right now.
It's the sunk cost fallacy combined with sheer exhaustion. It is a very real vulnerability, and sellers occasionally bank on you being too tired to fight back.
That's awful.
But giving in to that impatience is an incredibly expensive error. The source material emphasizes the necessity of maintaining leverage.
Leverage is key.
If you sign the closing papers in the face of those defects, you are legally accepting the property in its current degraded state. The seller's breach of contract officially becomes your out-of-pocket emergency.
So you refuse to sign. You tell your real estate agent, the appliances are gone, the ceiling is leaking, the deal stops here.
Yep.
But what is the actual mechanical resolution at the 11th hour? Like, how do you fix it without blowing up the entire purchase?
Well, you steer entirely clear of vague promises. You do not accept a verbal guarantee from the seller that they will fix it next week.
Because they won't.
They won't. The primary mechanism for resolution is an escrow holdback.
Okay, an escrow holdback.
Right. Your agent and your legal advisor will draft an addendum instructing the escrow company to withhold a specific amount of the seller's proceeds. It's often 150% of the estimated repair costs.
Oh, wow.
That money stays locked in escrow until the repairs are professionally completed or the missing items are replaced.
And if the seller refuses the holdback,
Then you delay closing.
just flat out delay it.
You leave the moving truck idling. It requires nerves of steel, but you have to be willing to hit the brakes. A minor logistical nightmare today is vastly preferable to a massive financial hemorrhage tomorrow.
That makes total sense.
Documenting the reality of the physical property and utilizing the legal framework of your contract is your final, ultimate act of due diligence.
It is really a battle of discipline versus desire. You have to operate like an impartial auditor of your own life.
Exactly.
So let's recap the blueprint we've pulled from these sources. we've constructed 3 structural pillars for a secure property acquisition. Pillar 1, freeze the financial variables. Understand how DTI algorithms monitor your credit, avoid any new debt, circumvent wire fraud by independently verifying routing numbers via phone, and audit your closing disclosure during the 3-day federal cooling-off period.
Vital steps.
Pillar 2, neutralize the invisible history. Do not rely on the lender's title policy to protect your equity. Secure an owner's title policy to retroactively defend against hidden litigants, past forgeries, and undisclosed claims.
Build your own moat.
Build your own moat. And Pillar 3, weaponize the final walkthrough. Inspect the physical reality against the legal contract. Demand escrow holdbacks for uncompleted repairs or missing fixtures, and never sign away your leverage just because you are exhausted.
If there is a central theme to extract from all of this, it is the power of informed communication. The real estate industry relies heavily on buyers feeling overwhelmed by the momentum of the process.
They just want to rush you through.
But you do not have to be swept along. When you encounter a sudden fee on a disclosure or a clouded title or a breach of contract at the walkthrough, lean into your advisory team. Demand clear mechanical explanations from your agent and your attorney.
You have the right to pump the brakes.
Always. Operating with this level of calculated vigilance is how you protect what is likely the largest financial asset you will ever acquire.
Which brings me to a final thought, something I just haven't been able to stop thinking about since we started prepping this material.
Oh, let's hear it.
We spent this entire deep dive treating due diligence as a highly concentrated, stressful sprint. It is a checklist you execute before you get the keys, all leading up to closing day.
Right.
But think about the mindset we just described. The rigorous auditing, the refusal to accept assumed conditions, the hypervigilance over financial and physical degradation.
Mm-hmm.
If securing the home requires you to act like a forensic auditor, how might adopting that exact same inspector's mindset change the way you manage that asset for the next 30 years?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. If you treat your house not just as a place you sleep, but as a complex system requiring continuous proactive audits, how many future disasters could you neutralize before they ever happen? Definitely something to chew on while you're unpacking those boxes.
A very strategic way to look at long-term ownership. I like that.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into real estate due diligence. May your title searches come back clean, your wire transfers arrive safely, and your final walkthroughs be incredibly boring.
Stay vigilant out there. Goodbye.
That's it for today's Meet Sean. If this helped, follow the show and share this episode with one person who needs it. See you next time.